Chapter 18. I was going to this restaurant called Lado's Pizzeria and met this girl, Ellen. Ellen seemed to be laced and semi drawn to me, or so I thought. She worked there and we began hanging out briefly until she went to jail for Oxycontin. I had no idea that she was hooked on drugs until a week later she was placed at a jail in Hopewell, Virginia called Riverside Regional. She was placed there with contribute to sell and distribute drugs. The restaurant owner who I sold an ad to with the Money Clip magazine had told me of the incident. Later to find out she was placed there for heroin addiction in the jail. I would visit her in the jail with the hopes of when she got out of being able to be there for her since I had an attraction for her. That fizzled out when the last two times I came to visit her and she wouldn't come out for my visit to her. Realized how much of a user she was. Meanwhile, at the public access channel, had a phone call from AJ telling me he was resigning from his duties at the access channel, and supposedly the trolls had complained to the station about my show, which forced them to air my show an hour later for the safe harbor time slot. Kinda confused about what these bitches were trying to pull off. Their attempts to get me removed failed miserably. Later that week, I spoke with the vice president with Comcast and wrote them a letter stating what these individuals are trying to do and how they didn't even live in the area. Supposedly how one of them who got the station would feed to them the shows before I even had placed these shows on YouTube. This was an act they tried to do a few times, but again, failed miserably. Also, even though the show was placed back at the 10:30-11 time slot, I actually preferred that because at times we could on an extra half hour and would do at times 90-minute shows, which worked out to my benefit to go on later. Things became apparently more obvious with what these bitches were trying to do. They tried their best in trying to get me removed from the Access Network and repeatedly failed. Their goal was trying to get in my real world by trying to get and ruin every possible relationship, both business, professionally, and personally. Both. Vile, mentally sick people that were absolutely obsessed with me. Still, Kevin and I were still able to pull out our season off without a hitch. Working long hours for the magazine company and the taxi business, I finally decided to resign from the magazine company, working full-time doing the taxi business. While I was spending more time working than having a life, I was able to kind of get my finances back in order for at least a stretch of time. Angela wanted me to give her the business owner's number who was selling the coffee shop. I told her it was a dead issue because he wanted too much, and it would be a loss from the very get-go. Though she insisted on talking with the guy, so I gave her the number, but told her that I would not be a part of it, and strongly suggested to her it was a wasted adventure. Meanwhile, at the home front, more issues were brewing with that ton of shit redneck neighbor who lived across the street trying to intimidate Matt. Matt was actually driving a car that his dad got him, and the bitch across the street would park his car in a spot where it was hard for either Matt or myself to pull our cars out of the driveway without coming close to hitting that bitch's shitty Chevy truck. Bitch would make it difficult for us to back our car out the way that bitch parked his vehicle on the street. My driveway would face his yard, and personally, he would park his shitty truck in that spot or park in front of my house to get an reaction from me. Matt was working at Aunt Sarah's pancake house as a cook and a dishwasher. I gave Matt congratulations that he got a job and was able to work and actually made money to help me, along with his dad paying his rent. Things gradually seemed to be working themselves out, even with all the outside drama that was still going on. Still, no real woman in my life, so I thought more than ever in this particular time of my life, I needed that woman more than ever, even with all the closed doors seeming to block out that possibility. Working and keep stability was my goal, and trying to fight the mortgage company, putting them to task in getting a loan reduction against the principal of my loan or possible forbearance. This kept looming the fear of me losing my house if the mortgage company didn't want to work with me in granting one of these two protections and keeping my house. Fighting against that was also an issue that had me constantly on pins and needles and trying to build income flow by regaining and paying my mortgage. Even with all this stress, I seem to be able to keep it together, and things once again seem to be working themselves out. While in the cab business within the first 2 years, I had two incidents that happened that kind of were out there. Taxi cab confessions, if you will. I remember picking up this lady crying her eyes out and sat in the back seat. Highly attractive middle-aged woman wearing stiletto heels. She told me the story about her husband cheating on her and how he embarrassed her in the restaurant meeting another woman right in front of her. Taxi cab driver's job is kind of like a bartender. You listen to the customers and chit-chat with them. I consoled her and told her, I do apologize that she had to go through that. I confirmed where she had to go, and she told me. Then, while she was talking and still crying, I start feeling her hands going through my hair in the back seat. I then said to myself, what the fuck? She said then, I hope you don't mind if I put my hands through your hair. She said, you have beautiful hair. I said, yes, thank you, but my goal is to get you home. Even though she was a fairly attractive woman and didn't mind her hands on me, I was also concerned if I acted on my testosterone level, if it wouldn't backfire and bite me in the ass when she could push away and say I was taking advantage of her. So I simply allowed her to keep stroking my hair, but told her she needs to get ready because we are almost at her place. She moved herself into the front seat. She said, start the car. Let me sit close to you. I said, ma'am, you are drunk, and as much as I'm tempted to rock your world, I'm working, and again you are drunk. She said, then I know exactly what I'm doing. She said, do you have a girlfriend? And I said, no. She said, how would you like to wake up to me in my bed? I said, ma'am, you're married and I'm working. Then she put her hands in my pants legs and started to rub her hands near my zipper. I took her hand and moved it, and I said to her, listen to me carefully. We can't do this, but in the morning, when you have sobered up and I'm off from work and you still have the same intensity you do now, I'll definitely come to your bed and rock your world. While I drove her up to her place, I said, here's my number, and called me. She said, you know where I live, so knock on the door. Then she Frenched me on the mouth. Where else? Then I pulled her close to me and grabbed her face and Frenched her myself again. I told her, this feels great, and I would love to experience in love making with you, but you've got to do this when you're sober and I'm off from work. Do you understand me? If you don't call me, then I'll take it that you aren't interested, but if you call me, I'll be here at your door like a bull ready to kick it down. I then placed my hand on her leg and said, call me. While she left, I knew I wouldn't be getting a phone call from her at all. I was correct. Not a word the next morning. Another encounter I had where a customer tried to grab the steering wheel while being in the front seat. I grabbed the dude by the throat and told him to get out of the taxi. The rider door was slightly open, and I then pushed him out the door and grabbed the door and shut it.